Hello, everybody. I am going to be going over the MLA process with you guys today. If you submitted your paper correctly, you should have your notations and annotations on your papers. If you submitted it incorrectly, congratulations, you got your points, but I can't really make much editing to it because they don't allow me to do that on Pages. So yeah, I did do it as you submitted as a PDF. So try again next week. If you want me to make corrections to it, you have to submit it correctly. With that being said, I am going to go over with you three things. I'm going to go over with you how to start your paper in Pages itself. I'm going to go over in-text citations, and I'm going to go over a little bit about your works cited page, which all will be provided. All of this information will be provided to you in paper format as we go through this and in Schoology. If you have any individual questions, as always, feel free to email me. But go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started with your document and page setup. So log into Pages and let's start how to do your MLA formatting. iPad, so that way you know what to do and what to click. So this is your Pages document. In order to create this, you're going to have to use Pages. No other one. Don't ask me to use Notability because the answer is going to be no. You have to use Pages. So when you click on this, you're going to do Create. You're only going to want to hit the blank. Blank, blank, blank. That's what you want. You do not want anything else but that blank. All right. When you open up this new document, okay, you are going to want to click, like I just did, on that side. You're going to want to hit this, and it's going to come up with this. Now, if you put the cursor in there, that's not going to come up. So you have to click that page just like that. This is new. So when you do that, you see all of these settings. You just want to go to Document Setup. When you do that, you're going to come up with this format like this. You're going to click up here. Now, see where it says page number? You're going to click page number. It says 1. Okay, so well, it didn't click, so that's done. All right. So in that, let me see if I can get it to click 1 again. Page number, you want to click 1. So 1's going to appear there. When you click on the other side of this, okay, you want to make sure, click on your little paintbrush, that this is in Times New Roman, which it is. For some reason, mine's set to 13, so we're going to switch that to 12. And then we're going to put your last name, okay? So you're going to put your last name here, not mine. This is going to be your last name, okay? So then once you do that, you have now officially set up the document to have your last name and the page number in that corner. You're then going to hit Done. Okay, and we're going to go out, and it's going to be up there in that top hand corner. Now, every single page you have to this, it's going to have your last name and the page number in the corner, but it will change page numbers as you go. So then we're going to click on it for our cursor. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that it's set to Times New Roman. You do that by going to the paintbrush. And you need to make sure it's set to 12-point font. You also want to make sure your line spacing is set to 2. So this is not set to 2. So we're going to go here and we're going to set it to 2. Okay, awesome. So with that, we're now ready to start our paper. So the first thing that you're going to want to put here is your name. So we're going to put John Lato. It's just going to happen to have the same last name as me. All right. See, when I hit enter, it automatically double space. You don't have to hit enter again. Do not hit enter again. Okay. You're then going to want to put the subject. So if you're watching this and you are English 2, you put English 2. If you are English 2 honors, you put English 2 honors. Okay. Then you're going to put my name. Okay, so then that's going to be here. Then the last thing you're going to put is the date. I don't care what date it is. You can leave the date you have on your rough draft, or you can put the current date. So the date right now, as I'm doing this, is Sunday, May 10th. So it's going to look like this though. No commas. You're not going to put TH. It's not the 10th. It's just 10 May 2020 or 30 April 2020. Whenever you have the date is fine. So now we have that set up. We're going to hit enter again, just one time. We're now going to go to our center justify. So that's going to be right there. Okay. We're now in the center of our paper. So we're going to put our title here. Our title should be something that we come up with that is a little bit more than just the title of your book or your story. Okay. So let's go with, let's say we're doing the hero's journey. So we could it could be something simple. The hero's, why question mark came in there. The hero's journey in Star Wars. And of course, whatever topic you have, you switch it. Now, notice, I'm not going to put this in the whole thing in italics, and I'm not putting it in quotation marks. I'm not making it bigger than any of the rest of the document. It stays the same as all the other ones, okay? So what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to put Star Wars in italics. Why am I putting it in italics? I'm putting it in italics because, I'm going to do it the old way, doing over here, not bold. Thank you. Because it is the name of a movie. If you are using a book, you do the name of the book. If it's the name of a TV series or whatever, you put it in italics. Okay? So that is how everyone's paper should start off. Just like you see here. Yours does not look like this. You're doing it wrong. And MLA is not being followed. I'm doing this video for both English 2 and English 2 Honors because it applies to both. Your papers should look like this, no matter if you're turning them in for an honors class or for your college classes or your master's classes. All of them are going to look like this in an English setting, not your sciences. That's a whole other ball of wax. So then again, enter. I'm going to go back over and I'm going to left justify and I'm going to start my paper. Now, that is the correct way to set this paper up. If you do this, you are going to get half of your MLA ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is in-text citations. So here we go with that. So in-text citations, there are a few ways to do these, but you need to have them both when you are quoting something directly with quotation marks and when you are summarizing, paraphrasing. If you're using a scene from your book or movie, you have to cite it. So what you're looking at right now is an example of if you are using a movie. So when you are citing a movie, you're going to put the director's last name. This includes any form of visual media. You put the director's last name. So you are going to have to look up who the director of the episode, game, movie, what have you. Okay, so in the case of, if you're going with old school Star Wars, for example, you would have Lucas. You would close the quote. You would then open the parenthesis. You would put Lucas, close the parenthesis, and then have a period. You should see what it looks like here on the other side of the screen. If you are paraphrasing, it's the same, except obviously you don't have a closed quote. You just, in the sentence, don't put the period yet, put the parenthesis, put the director's last name, close parenthesis, and then the period. If you were using a novel, then of course you would revert to author's last name. So if your author's last name is Miller, you would put, same thing, Miller, but if it's wherever the quote comes from, or the scene of what you were talking about comes from, the range of the page numbers needs to be there. So it would be close quotation, if there is one, open parenthesis, Miller, 45-46, close parenthesis, period. If you have a question mark or exclamation point, then you'd put that. You do not put the period at the end of the sentence. You put it at the end of the parenthesis. It is imperative that you don't include anything else. I don't need the PG with the page number. I don't need the author's first name. I don't need the whole citation. I just need author's last name or director's last name. And then if it comes from a book, the page numbers. Obviously, if it's getting it from a form of media, it's not going to have page numbers. So then you don't put that. So that's how you do it. That's it. Where do I put it? You put it at the end of their information. When you go to explain the evidence, that shouldn't be them. That should be you. So therefore, you don't need to have a cite for your words. Okay? So you should never have it at the end of a topic sentence, because again, that's your words. You should never have it at the end of a paragraph, especially your body paragraphs. Why? Because that's your words. That's your transition into the next paragraph. So that's always a good rule of thumb that my college professors taught me, that in a body paragraph, if you have a citation at the very end, then again, you're doing it wrong. You need transitions to go into your next paragraphs. So that is what your in-text citations should look like, okay? So for this week, when you turn in your rough drafts, I'm not looking at the content. I've already done that with you. I am now looking for the MLA. So the last thing I'm going to be looking for is your works cited page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this sheet on your Schoology, but I'll also have it up probably while I'm explaining all of this to show you a couple of examples of what your works cited page should look like. Some of you have used, especially for my English 2 students, have just used the material from your movie or your series, and that's okay. If you used other sources, the internet, to explain the hero's journey, or if you've used different internet sources to find the quote from your series, then you'll have to use the internet source, but I did provide that for you. Okay, when you do your citations, you need to put the author's last name of whatever, source that you're going to be using for that. I am also going to ask you to put your works cited page in alphabetical order, especially if you use multiples. Now, my honors, you were asked to use 3 sources. You have your book, and you have 2 outside sources that you needed to use. Your citations were already looked over and corrected into your annotated bibliography, but I will, again, check them over whenever you turn these in. A last and final note, I am not going to be putting handwritten and hand gone over work or citations or annotations, I should say, if you don't turn it in properly. Several of your rough drafts that you submitted to me did not have a PDF format to them. If you submitted it as a pages, there's nothing I can do. I can only view it and give you points for it, but I can't write on there what you've done incorrectly. So unfortunately, if you turned it in that way, I give you your points for it. I'm probably going to have a comment saying format is incorrect or format is correct. But that's all I can really do. I can't go into line by line description as I did with the other students who turned them in as PDFs. So same thing with this. If you don't turn it in as a PDF, I can't go line by line and show you on your works cited page what you did wrong and what you did correctly. So just a word of note on that. I've said it in a couple places that you had to turn it in as a PDF. Please remember to do that. You can always resubmit it as a PDF if you make a mistake, but it says on there, .pages. It's very clear to see what document style you have turned in if you look at your submissions. So I know, grumble, sorry, but I want to check over these and I can't if you turn them in incorrectly. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is gone over how to start your paper, how that should look, went over your in-text citations, and then I have what your works cited page should respectively somewhat look like. Remember also to keep your works cited page as part of your document. You don't want to include it into a separate document because the page number will be off. It won't say, page 3 or page 4, whatever pages you're on for that. Please go back and look over your comments on your papers. If you did turn it in correctly, you have several, and make those corrections. Especially a lot of you, especially my English 2 students who have not dealt with MLA yet. And I am showing you how your paper should look. I'm expecting your paper to look as the example that you will have, that I'll put up. Again, I'll have this whole little document. It's going to be on there. And it's really bright, but it shows you exactly how your paper should look. So if it doesn't look like this, then what do I always say? You're doing it wrong. So my honors, this is not your first rodeo. You should know how to submit a paper in MLA format, but this is your final check before we go off into your advanced classes. My English 2, this is your one of your first times doing it, but it's all there in the documentation. If you have a question while you're doing it, as always, send me an email and I'll help you out as best as I can. I will do the same thing I did for these. I will go over just your MLA. I'm not rechecking over your content unless you have a specific question you're going to email me. Reminder that you will have a rough draft due this Friday. What day is that? That is the that is the 15th by 3:00. And then on the 22nd, which is our last hurrah, you will turn in your final papers. Anytime you want to submit that final paper, submit it up, because then that means you're done for me. What I'm going to do is after Friday, I will put the spot in for you to submit your final so that way you don't get confused. And then I'll grade it and you'll have your grade done for me for English 2 and English 2 honors. So last stretch, we're to get your MLA corrected, and then we'll be moving on to our next year. Next week, I will do a final video of just wrapping up everything of your papers and how they looked, and some things that I maybe have noticed that we need to make sure we correct, or individual questions I may have. But until then, I will see you guys next week when I do another video. And, finish strong, just 2 weeks left. And then we'll be moving on till next year. So bye. Have a good one, everybody.